Demon King Defiance is a game everyone should experience at least once. Demon King Defiance continues to carry the trophy as the game that got me the most hyped for winning boss battles.
Yes! Yeah, baby! That's number 2!
Demon King Defiance takes the concept of playing as a villain and takes it to 11, with an entourage of morally dubious characters ranging from gods to demons to a little girl with a knack for murder. This game is also the first one I've hit the credits for, but that doesn't mean the story's over. So while I've hit main credits and had stuff to say...
Mate, that was fucking brilliant. I have the dumbest grin on my face, and I've had the dumbest grin on my face pretty much the entire runtime. You guys, I don't know how you've done it, but you've managed a game that has me enthralled. And what is this? What do you mean it's not over?
This game has a whole nother story left in its tank. The gameplay footage for this video was recorded not long after the Idrika descending footage, so after a brief pause to play other games to shake things up and get back into action, I fired up Demon King Defiance and leapt back into it. Now, I've split this video into two parts, or two halves I should say, for a very specific reason. The front end of this video will be handling the main story and the 7 main characters that make that story up. Then the back half will be covering the post-story and some of my final thoughts and the game ranking. So let's start things off with the Demon King. The main protagonist of this story, Demon King, is an iconic part of this game and probably my favourite part of it. Showing his raw strength by using gloves as his weapons, as I've said, he's easily my favourite of the main cast, just because of how comically over the top he is 90% of the time.
He's our king! He's our king! He's our king!
Serving as the Demon King's right hand, the Knight is the brosive every bro wants by their side when they go to take over the world. The traditional brute tank of the group, he is incredibly determined to save the Demon King's life, literally willing to die for it. The Demon King is willing to break the laws of nature to revive the Knight too. These two are the best bros that have ever broed, and I hope that the bros continue to bro in the post-story. In my original review, the Goddess of Light was a one-off party member for the first dungeon, but boy did she gain so much more after Dungeon 2. She maintains the game's dedicated healer role, having both revive and full heal spells, making her an instant lock on pretty much every team comp I made. Void, on the other hand, is a little of everything. He can tank, heal, DPS and debuff, allowing him to be incredibly flexible in team composition. Void's core motivations for being with the group are a little flat until just before the credits roll, but he doesn't need to have strong motivations. He is Void and he is the guy. Randall is a former blacksmith turned warrior, originally hired to kill the Demon King. When the Goddess of Light teams up with the Demon King once more, Randall's sword turns too. He handles like a frailer but harder hitting version of the Knight in battle. Death, the Goddess of Earth, don't get that wrong, is the second goddess you go chasing after, and once you kill her, she reforms in the body of a cat. Don't question it. Eventually joining up with the Demon King due to a lack of power, her kit is so incredibly fun that she makes every battle turn into such a spectacle to have in a fight. The final of the main 7, Tsukiko, is a child with a bloodlust. Similarly to Death, her kit is so much fun to use in fights that she ended up sticking to my team like glue. While she proves her place on the team in fighting prowess alone, it is so goddamn funny that a small child is fighting alongside literal demons and gods. My team for the final dungeon and boss of the main story ended up being Demon King, Goddess of Light, Death, and Tsukiko, and it took me 3 attempts to triumph over the fight and roll the credits on the main story. The story for this game is pretty basic, but I'll run an incredibly quick loop of it to make sure everything makes sense before I continue. The Goddess of Light is sent to kill the Demon King by another god. She fails, and the Demon King and his knight plan to kill her unless she surrenders and becomes a vassal for the Demon King. She does so, and the trio go to fight Ixno, I don't know how to pronounce that name, another god. The group fights their way through Ixno's domain before the Goddess of Light flips the switch and flees, leaving the Demon King and Knight to face Ixno alone. The duo triumph, and when Void, a vassal of Ixno, realizes what's happened, he gets angry and attempts to kill the duo. He fails, and the three of them end up forced to work together to kill Death, another goddess. When the trio are about to get to fight Death, the Goddess of Light hires Randall, a warrior, to confront them. He fails, and the trio head to face the Goddess of Earth, Death. After the fight, the Goddess of Light reappears and saves the Demon King's life. To repay the favor, the Demon King takes a fatal blow for the goddess, with Death dying afterwards. Now in the Netherworld, the Demon King fights his way to try and escape, but fails and is captured. The Knight is teleported in after him, soon followed by Void and Randall. And when the trio find the Demon King, the Knight is killed, the Demon King breaks free, and the four of them escape after a very one-sided fight. Returning to the goddess in a small town, the Knight is revived. Death is reborn in a cat, and the six of them agree to work together to slay a greater demon wreaking havoc on the world, before all immediately going back at each other's throats. Before they leave, they do a favor for the blacksmith, and his daughter, Tsukiko, joins the fight with them. The seven of them head to slay the greater demon, and after trials and tribulations, they succeed. Void, who was actually Ixno the whole time, judges the Demon King fit to stay alive, and the group splits, with the Demon King, Knight, Goddess of Light, and Void returning to the Demon King's castle, while Death, Tsukiko, and Randall return to Earth where they continue living their lives. At least until a month later, but that's for a later segment. So what do I think of the story? Personally, it felt very breakneck. The story doesn't stop for a moment, jumping from place to place with little direction between them. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. With the game focusing more on its set pieces, it's able to have tight focus with its characters, and these characters carry the main story to the finish line easily, with one notable exception. When those credits rolled, I was disappointed that there wasn't more, and then the game kept going. The game picks back up after the credits roll with Death, Tsukiko, and Ives, a new party member, as they're going through the dungeon in the castle to destroy homunculi. Soon enough, you find Kahira, the last of the knights left, and after cleaning out the homunculi and confronting the king, Overlord Aki shows up, enthralls Death, and buggers off. Randall shows up to rescue Death, gets jumped by Asta, then some lizard men, then Scarlet and Zolgara show up to help fight off the lizard men, and then everyone from the main story, everyone I just mentioned, and Zhu Ying, Aki's bride, all team up to kill another god, and that's about as far as I've gotten. Ives and Kahira are very similar in that they're humans way out of their depth, just like Randall and Tsukiko were in the main story. Compared to all the demons and gods, Ives, Kahira, Randall, and Tsukiko are just humans physically. Scarlet and Zolgara both show up during a segment and are extra pairs of hands during the Lizardmen fight. I don't know, they know the Demon King somehow, but I really haven't gone far into it, so I don't know the full connection there. Asta, Zhu Ying, and Aki are there too. I've only used Asta because she was required for the Lizardmen fight, but considering the party size, I'll probably use them a few times to see how they all play, and then switch it up as it goes along. So that takes the party from 7 to 14 in barely any time at all. So if there's any more party members than these 14, I'm going to be baffled by the sheer amount of characters to learn the kits of. This game has a pretty fluid amount of mechanics, most of which aren't really required for completion, including a weapon forging system, tracking the amount of time certain skills are used, and a huge amount of status conditions. But I made it through just by giving Death an accessory that doubled her defenses and let her cover low HP allies, and everything clicked together in my team comp after that. These skills are also really dynamic, with a lot of different skills using a mix of both MP and TP. And with so many options, I was able to form a lot of different strategies for whatever situation I needed. And it felt that at no point in the game was I, the player, being punished for bringing the wrong composition of character classes to a fight. And as long as I had a way to heal and revive, I was able to logic my way through every battle in the main story. This game also doesn't really rely on equipment for its stats, mostly augmenting stats that are already there, which in my opinion is a good thing. It means you aren't punished for not grinding up money, and that you can just make your way through with gear that you find. It also helps that certain shops will vanish after progressing past a certain point. So the most I can say for the next part of the video is, well done game devs. You've made an incredibly fun game, and if you're not making a sequel of some sort, you should be, because there's a hell of a lot of talent here. It's time to rank Demon King Defiance against the other games I reviewed. So once again, I'll explain how this works. To keep it simple, I evaluate based on the 5 aspects of gameplay I think are the most important: story, character, combat, exploration, and enjoyability. I will rank each of these aspects on a scale from 1 to 5 and compare it to the other games I've reviewed. But in order to spare my sanity and prevent any inflation of numbers, I'm only reviewing Demon King Defiance up until the credits roll after beating the Greater Demon. Anything after that I'm considering a post-story, and will review separately in the next video on Demon King Defiance. The current top dog at the moment is Idrika Descending with a 19 out of 25, but let's see how Demon King Defiance? I'm leaving that in. Let's see how Demon King Defiance stacks up. Demon King Defiance's main story moves at a breakneck pace, never stopping for a moment to let you catch your breath. While this is incredibly in character for the Demon King, it leaves you struggling to keep up as the game jumps from killing gods to getting out of hell to killing demons in the span of about a half hour. So Demon King Defiance gets a score of 3 out of 5, because no matter how fast that story moves, it's still able to keep me enthralled and just raring to go for every move it makes. This game is so close to a perfect 5 out of 5 for character, but one thing keeps it from that perfect score. Randall's character is paper thin in the main story, at least in my opinion. Randall's entire character is, "I'll get you, Demon King, as soon as the bigger problem is dealt with." The 6 other characters are dynamic, well-rounded, and incredibly funny in places, but Randall just holds the party back from perfect marks in my opinion. So Demon King Defiance gets a 4 out of 5 for character. Shout out to whoever wrote the dialogue, it gave me some really good laughs. As I mentioned in part 4, this game's combat is dynamic, yet simple in a way that my dumbass can tactically plan for every situation, and the attacks feel powerful, yet not broken, which turns battles into a spectacle of lights, colours and animations, which helps fulfill this game's seeming want to give a power fantasy to the player. So I'm going to give Demon King Defiance a 4 out of 5 for combat. Now see, exploration is hard, because by all means the first 2 hours of gameplay have you jumping from place to place while seldom connecting areas together. But once the world opens up, things get better, and the mine shafts to harvest materials for crafting makes it more rewarding to explore too. So I'm going to give this game a 3 out of 5 for exploration. Demon King Defiance sets out to instill a power fantasy of you being the king of the demons, kill gods and eventually prove to other demons that you are the one true Demon King. And it achieved that. It also holds the candle for being the only game to get me hyped up for defeating bosses, and you know what? I'm proud of it for that. Congratulations, Demon King Defiance. You're the first game to get a 5 out of 5 for a category, giving Demon King Defiance's main story a final score of 19 out of 25, tying it up with Idrika Descending. So how do I break the tie? Easy. Bonus round. Introducing the ensemble category. If the ensemble category ever needs to be used, it's a single point to whoever has the better ensemble cast, and we have a limited option for both. Idrika Descending has the citizens of Idrika plus the one dude with Nanjid in her intro cutscene. Demon King Defiance is the citizens of a single village plus like 2 other demons in the underworld. And comparing the 2 games' ensembles to each other, judging by unique dialogues, if those dialogues change, and just general behaviours, I'd give the point to Idrika, simply due to them being more unique interactions with them. Which gives the final breakdown score looking something like this. Demon King Defiance is a game that I absolutely loved playing through. Hell, you saw my raw opinions on the game during the intro sequence. But with a second story on the table, I will be coming back to finish that story, but the schedule demands that I leave it for now. Next game on the list is Tartarus, but I will be making a video on RPG Maker With's player at some point, so the schedule will be interrupted at some point with that. As once and always, my name is Micromatcha. Have a good rest of your day, night, or whatever time it is for you, and like, subscribe, comment, all those good stuff, and we will see you in the next video that I make. Have a good day.